What if the person you dismissed as invisible held the power to expose everything you've built? In a city where billion-dollar decisions are made behind glass towers, one woman, homeless, unheard, and armed only with a white silk scarf, shattered an empire with a single act of kindness. This is not just a story about justice, it's about what happens when humanity interrupts power. Did you know that AI hiring algorithms have rejected thousands of qualified candidates based on hidden racial and socioeconomic bias, without a single human ever seeing their resume? What would you do if you found out your own success was built on someone else's silence? If this story moved you, inspired you, or made you question the world around you, don't let it end here. Subscribe to the channel to follow more transformative stories that challenge injustice and celebrate resilience. And tell us in the comments, what's one small act of kindness you've witnessed that had a massive impact? Because sometimes, the biggest revolutions start with the smallest moments. The boardroom was quiet, save for the soft clink of coffee mugs against mahogany. Selena Brooks sat at the far end of the long glass table, her spine straight, fingers laced tightly on the polished surface. She'd been in this room dozens of times, but today the air felt different, weighted. Before we move on, Selena began, her voice calm but firm, I want to address the patterns we're seeing with the AI hiring filters. James Peterson, the Director of Diversity and Inclusion, arched an eyebrow. What patterns are you referring to, Ms. Brooks? Qualified candidates from underrepresented backgrounds are disproportionately being screened out. The algorithm's learning bias is replicating historical discrimination. A beat of silence followed, then laughter, soft, polite, dismissive. Selena, Peterson said smoothly, your passion is admirable, but this system was designed by the best minds. It doesn't see color. Exactly, Selena replied, and that's the problem. The room shifted. Glances exchanged. The CEO cleared his throat. Let's circle back to that later, he said. But they never did. 3 months later, Selena sat in a cramped interview room at a staffing agency that smelled of reheated coffee and desperation. Her resume, once adorned with glowing recommendations and big firm prestige, now lay ignored in front of a distracted recruiter. You have an impressive background, the woman said, eyes not quite meeting hers. But we're looking for someone who fits better with our culture. Selena nodded, though her stomach twisted. That was the 4th time she'd heard the same phrase. She stepped out into the gray Chicago cold, clutching her coat tighter. The streets were loud, indifferent. She walked until she found a bench near the L tracks, pulled out her worn leather journal, and wrote, Rejection number 12. Not a culture fit, said with a smile. Again, she tucked the journal away. Somewhere deep inside, a flame still burned. The scream was faint, almost lost under the rumble of traffic, but Selena heard it. A child's cry. She turned a corner and found him, a little boy, no more than 6, sitting on the curb, clutching his knee. Blood streaked down his pale skin, mixing with the grime of the sidewalk. Hey, sweetheart, she said gently, kneeling beside him. Let me see. He flinched, but didn't pull away. Selena reached into her coat pocket and pulled out her last clean possession, a white silk scarf. She pressed it carefully to the wound. It's okay, she murmured. Just a scrape, he sniffled. I was chasing the birds. They're tricky like that, she smiled. What's your name? Leo. I'm Selena. It's nice to meet you, Leo. Unseen by either of them, Damian Kingsley stood a few yards away, partially obscured by the tinted windows of his town car. He was frozen. His son, his only son, was sitting on the sidewalk, being tended to by a homeless woman. His first instinct was to run over, to pull Leo away, but something stopped him. The woman's hands moved with the tenderness of someone who knew pain, and Leo's tears had stopped. His driver spoke. Sir? Damian raised a hand. Wait! Leo looked up. Why are you so dirty? Selena didn't flinch. Because not everyone gets the same chances, Leo. But that doesn't make us less human. Damian felt something stir in his chest, a discomfort he hadn't felt in years. That night, Selena returned to the shelter beneath the overpass. But something was off. A posted notice read, "Closed for renovations." People were packing their things. A police officer barked instructions. "Where are we supposed to go?" someone asked. "Not my problem," he replied. Selena gathered her bag, 2 changes of clothes, her journal, and now a blood-stained scarf. As she turned to leave, a voice called out, "Selena?" She turned. A woman with curly black hair and a denim jacket stepped forward. "Name's Carmen Delgado," she said. "I run Horizon Shelter Network. We could use someone like you." Selena narrowed her eyes. "Why?" "Because I saw what you did for that kid today," Carmen smiled. "And because you haven't forgotten how to care." Selena looked back once more at the shelter she had relied on, then forward towards something that looked like hope. Selena stepped into the Horizon Shelter Network's community space, uncertain. The place was buzzing with conversation, clinking dishes, and the aroma of lentil stew. Children played in a corner, and volunteers sorted boxes of donated clothes. Carmen walked beside her. "It's not much, but it works." Selena nodded. "Feels alive." "That's the point. Come, there's someone you need to meet." They moved down a hallway lined with flyers about housing rights and job fairs. At the end was a small office where a woman with sleek black hair and a minimalist blazer sat behind a desk, stacked with papers and sticky notes. "Selena, meet Amara Chun," Carmen said, "director of the Ramiko Foundation, our biggest partner." Amara rose and extended her hand without hesitation. "So you're the one with the white scarf. I've heard about you. Come in." The office was more war room than workplace. Maps with pins, case files, and a whiteboard scribbled with phrases like eviction zones and influence campaigns. Amara gestured for Selena to sit. Carmen said, "You used to be in HR?" Selena hesitated. "At a firm that partnered with Kingsley Corp, until I wasn't a culture fit." Amara nodded. "We're tracking which of Kingsley's subsidiaries are funding the gentrification that's displacing families. The shelter you stayed at leased to a development group last month." Selena stiffened. "You're saying he's behind it?" Amara leaned in. "Not directly. That's how they keep their hands clean. But the money trail, it leads back to Kingsley Corp." Selena looked down at her journal. "I have names, rejections, patterns." Amara's eyes sharpened. "Then you already know more than most analysts. We could use your help." Selena was folding pamphlets in the Horizon Lounge when Carmen slid into the chair beside her. "You okay?" "Just thinking." Selena hesitated. "That little boy I helped the other day, his name was Leo, Damian Kingsley's son." Carmen sat back, stunned. "Are you serious?" "He didn't recognize me. Neither did Kingsley." "Are you going to tell Amara?" Selena shook her head. "Not yet. I don't want this to be about revenge. I want it to be about truth." Carmen placed a hand on hers. "Then let's find it together." Selena joined Carmen on a visit to an evicted family's temporary shelter. The mother, a former teacher named Jolene, spoke softly. "I applied for 7 jobs this month. 2 interviews. Same answer every time. Not a fit." Selena opened her journal. "Can I write this down?" Jolene looked surprised, then nodded. "Sure, if it helps." Outside, Carmen watched Selena, her voice low. "You have a way of making people trust you. You listen." Selena closed the journal. "Because no one listened to me when it mattered." Late that night, Selena spread pages of handwritten notes across the small desk she'd been given at the shelter. She highlighted dates, circled repeated names, cross-referenced rejection phrases. One name kept surfacing, James Peterson. She opened her journal to her own entry, rejection, Chuck 12, James Peterson. Not a culture fit. Selena sat back, breath catching. She'd found a pattern, and she wasn't going to let it stay buried. Selena sat in the corner office of the Ramiko Foundation, surrounded by a tangle of notes and documents. The whiteboard was covered in arrows and names, a chaotic map of cause and effect. She stared at a printout Amara had given her, an early blueprint of the AI model Kingsley Corp used to filter resumes. Her eyes narrowed as she saw it, a decision tree formula she had once proposed in a white paper years ago, meant to streamline diversity hiring reviews. "This was mine," she whispered. Amara walked in. "What was?" "This decision. Node. I built it for mentorship mapping. They used it as an exclusion metric." Selena tossed the paper on the table. "They twisted it." Amara sat down slowly. "You didn't know." "But I helped build the machine." Her voice cracked. Amara leaned forward. "Then who better to break it apart?" Selena crossed a busy street, her scarf wrapped tightly around her neck, trying to shake the unease that had followed her all morning. She glanced over her shoulder. There it was again, the sleek black sedan, parked half a block behind her, tinted windows, engine running. It had been tailing her for 3 days. That night, as she stepped into the shelter, Carmen met her at the door. "You look spooked." Selena nodded. "Someone's following me." Carmen cursed softly under her breath. "We can call it in." Selena shook her head. "Not yet. It doesn't feel like a threat. It feels like a question." Upstairs, she stared at her journal, the algorithm printout beside it. All of it had started from her hands. Someone out there knew. Across the city, Damian Kingsley sat alone in his high-rise office. The lights of Chicago stretched endlessly beyond the floor-to-ceiling windows. He held a folder of internal compliance reports. His assistant had flagged anomalies, unexplained rejections, missing interview records. Damian flipped through them with increasing agitation. In one file, he saw a familiar name, Selena Brooks. He stared at it for a long moment, then opened the photo archive from his car's dash. It came a zoomed-in image of the woman who had helped Leo. It was her. He sat back, stunned. "I watched her walk away," he murmured, "and I didn't stop her." He picked up his phone, ran a full background on Selena Brooks, quietly. Leo stood at the window of his bedroom, watching the rain smear the glass. Damian entered, loosening his tie. "Still thinking about the scarf lady?" he asked softly. Leo nodded. "She said her name was Selena. She smiled like Mommy used to." Damian swallowed hard. "She say anything else?" "She said people can lose everything but still be kind. That was her superpower." Damian sat on the edge of the bed. "What if we could help her now?" Leo looked up. "Are you going to find her?" "I already did," Damian whispered. Back at the foundation, Amara brought Selena into a dim conference room. A projector hummed to life, displaying a map of corporate subsidiaries and shell companies. "We traced the eviction funders. Half of them route through Kingsley Investments." Selena folded her arms. "Then we exposed the pipeline." Amara gave her a meaningful look. "We want you to represent us at the Kingsley Diversity Summit next month. They extended an invitation to our partners." Selena blinked. "That's his event." "Exactly. Your voice needs to be in that room." Selena thought of Leo, of the blood on her scarf, of the system that had cast her out. "Then let's make sure they hear it." The Kingsley Summit buzzed with cameras, curated playlists, and a glossy veneer of progress. A massive LED screen displayed the slogan, "Innovation through Inclusion." Banners with smiling, diverse employees hung above the crowd. But Selena, seated at the rear of the auditorium, saw the truth beneath the polish. She wore a plain blouse, her white scarf tucked into her blazer. Around her neck hung a small pendant, a photo of her mother tucked inside. Carmen and Amara flanked her on either side. "This place makes my skin crawl," Carmen muttered. "That's the point," Selena replied. They built a stage to hide the cracks. From the side stage, Damian Kingsley observed the crowd, adjusting his tie. His jaw tightened as he spotted Selena, his mind racing. James Peterson stood beside him, grinning broadly. "We're on in 5, a coordinator announced. Damian didn't respond. Peterson took the stage to polite applause. "Welcome to the 8th Annual Kingsley Summit," he began. "Today, we celebrate the strides made in workplace equity and diversity." Selena's grip on her notebook tightened. "Under our guidance," Peterson continued, "we've increased minority hiring by 63%. Real numbers, real change." Amara leaned over. "Ready? I was born ready, Selena whispered. Peterson invited partner representatives on stage. As names were called, one by one, they joined him. When he said, Ramico Foundation, Selena stood. Whispers rippled as she walked the aisle. She passed Damien. Their eyes met. He didn't smile. She didn't flinch. The moderator asked each panelist to give a brief introduction. Selena took the mic. My name is Selena Brooks. 3 years ago, I applied to Kingsley Corp for a role in HR. The room grew quiet. I was told I wasn't a fit. 3 months later, I lost my home. 6 months later, I was living on the street. Peterson shifted in his seat. I kept a journal of every rejection, every coded phrase, every time the algorithm filtered out a qualified candidate because they didn't look like the picture of success. The moderator tried to interject, but Selena continued. I have something to show you. She pressed a button. Behind her, a video began playing, footage from a leaked internal meeting. Peterson laughing, put color on the brochures, not in the boardroom. Gasps echoed. Another clip. We meet quotas where we must, but let's not confuse appearances with leadership. Peterson stood. That's taken out of context. Selena held up a folder. I have the full tapes and rejection data. 89% of black candidates denied interviews. Rejections signed off by the same person who called me not a culture fit. Carmen stood in support. Amara joined her. The room was dead silent. Damien stepped forward, face pale but resolute. Mr. Kingsley? Peterson asked, grasping for stability. Damien faced the audience. I take full responsibility. A collective inhale swept the auditorium. James Peterson is relieved of his duties, effective immediately. Peterson opened his mouth, but no words came. Damien turned to Selena. You stood in front of my son with nothing and gave him compassion. Today you stood before us and gave us truth. He faced the crowd. We will begin a full audit, a public one. And Miss Brooks, I hope we can speak in private. Selena nodded slowly. The lights dimmed. The screen faded. The illusion had shattered, and the reckoning had begun. Backstage in the green room, the summit stage light still faintly visible through the curtains, Selena stood opposite Damien. An awkward silence settled. Between them, Damien broke it first. I want to make this right. Selena met his gaze. You can't erase what happened. No, but I can begin repairing the damage. He stepped forward, voice low. You exposed truth that should have come to light long ago. If you're willing, I want you to help rebuild Kingsley Corp. Selena blinked. Rebuild from what? From the rot we let grow beneath the glass. She folded her arms. Then I want it all above board, transparent, real. Damien nodded. Dates. Whatever it, Selena considered. Then we start with the people who were pushed out. 2 days later, Selena sat in the boardroom of Kingsley Corp. This time not as an applicant, but as the new director of social impact. Amara, now acting as an outside advisor, joined via video call. Carmen sat to Selena's left, flipping through files of old HR reports. First order of business, Selena said, is to reopen every closed case flagged for discrimination over the last 5 years. Murmurs passed around the table. The interim CEO, placed temporarily while Damien stepped back, leaned forward. You understand the scope? Selena held up her journal. This isn't just a cleanup, it's a reckoning. Carmen added, and the people outside these windows are watching. Don't mistake silence for consent. The room quieted. Weeks later, sunlight poured over the fenced lot where the old shelter once stood. Now it buzzed with construction workers and scaffoldings. A large sign read, Future Home of Project. Handkerchief, housing, healing, hope. Selena stood with Carmen and Amara surveying the site. It still feels surreal, Selena said. Carmen chuckled. You just shook an empire with a scarf. Selena turned to Amara. We're going to need more than symbolism. Amara nodded. Which is why we're rolling out training programs, mental health support, and job placements. All on site. Selena's eyes drifted to the workers laughing together over lunch. This isn't just about fixing a company. It's about rebuilding a future. Inside Kingsley's HR division, everything changed. Walls of abstract corporate posters came down, replaced with photo collages of real employees and community members. Selina led a staff-wide meeting. We're implementing a blind review system for applicants. Real metrics, real fairness. A young analyst raised a hand. What about leadership hiring? Selina glanced at Carmen, who nodded. We audit that too, Selina said. Promotion paths, mentorship access, performance, reviews. No more hidden gates. Behind the scenes, long-time executives resigned quietly. Whistleblowers were given space to speak. The building itself seemed to breathe differently. Selina opened the door to her modest new office in a downtown community annex funded by Kingsley Impact. On the desk was a wrapped box. She opened it slowly. Inside was a crisp white handkerchief. A note sat atop it, written in uneven, boyish handwriting. You gave me your scarf when I was hurt. Now I give this to you for new beginnings. Leo. Tears stung her eyes. She placed the new handkerchief next to the original, now framed on her wall. 2 pieces of cloth, 2 lives changed, 1 city finally listening. The morning headlines hit like a thunderclap. Peterson faces class action lawsuit for discriminatory practices. Selina sipped her coffee in the community annex kitchen as Carmen read the article aloud. Over 60 former applicants have come forward, Carmen said. And that's just the start. Selina nodded, quiet. She looked out the window, watching a group of teenagers heading into a job workshop hosted by Project Handkerchief. Amara walked in holding her phone. 4 other companies just launched internal audits, quiet ones but still. Selina turned to her. It's happening, isn't it? Amara smiled. You didn't just pull one thread, you unraveled the whole tapestry. The red circle on the stage felt strangely intimate beneath the bright lights and camera lenses. Selina stood tall, her white scarf draped over her shoulder. I was once told I didn't fit the culture, she began, that I was too passionate, too direct, too other. She paused. But what happens when exclusion is coded into a system? When silence is mistaken for neutrality? She walked slowly. Prejudice doesn't always slam doors. It often lets them close quietly. That's how it survives. By the time she finished, the room was breathless. The video went viral within days. The Selina effect trended across platforms. At a Project Handkerchief orientation, Selina greeted new participants one by one. A young woman stepped forward, hesitant. Her clothes were pressed but worn, her hair neatly tied back. I don't think you remember me, she said softly. 3 years ago at the Wabash shelter, you gave me your last sandwich. Said I needed it more. Selina blinked. You were that girl in the corner, reading a library book. The woman smiled, eyes welling. I never forgot. That sandwich bought me one more day. Now I'm here to start again. Selina's voice caught. Then let's build forward. Together. Damien stood outside the new training center, watching through the glass as Leo helped pass out notebooks to incoming students. Selina knelt beside him, adjusting his scarf. I like helping, Leo told her. Feels like I'm doing something real. You are, she said. Damien approached quietly. He's different since meeting you, he said. Selina stood. So are you. Damien glanced around the center. I built walls for decades. You helped me see the bridges we should have built instead. Leo tugged at his father's sleeve. Can we stay a little longer? Damien smiled. We're not going anywhere. Selina stood at the head of a reclaimed oak table in a modest boardroom at Kingsley Impact. Amara, Carmen, and 2 former shelter residents flanked her. The people closest to the problem, she said, should be the ones guiding the solution. She clicked a slide showing metrics. Employment rates, housing, retention, mental health access. Real success isn't just about profit, it's about impact, about dignity, Carmen added, and about never letting anyone become invisible again. As the meeting adjourned, applause followed. Quiet, respectful. Selina looked at the group and smiled. This is what a real boardroom looks like. Selina's footsteps echoed softly against the sidewalk as she neared the intersection of Wabash and Roosevelt, the same corner where almost a year ago a child's cry had stopped her in her tracks. Now the fencing had come down. In its place stood a new shelter, modern, warm, alive with movement. Children's laughter spilled through open windows. Volunteers passed in and out of the main doors. Selina stood still, breathing it in. Leo ran up beside her, his small hand slipping into hers. "That's where I fell, right?" She nodded, and where we both got back up. Damien joined them, holding 2 cups of hot chocolate. "They're calling it Haven House," he said. "But the staff voted to name the community room after someone." Selina raised an eyebrow. He smiled. "The Brooks Room." That evening, in her new apartment above the community annex, Selina sat on the couch with a box in her lap. She pulled out the frame that held the original silk scarf, weathered, blood-stained, and meaningful. Beside it, she laid the crisp white handkerchief Leo had gifted her months ago. With delicate care, she added it to a second frame. 2 beginnings, 2 symbols. She hung both on the wall, side by side. Her phone buzzed, a message from Carmen. "Legacy vote is scheduled for 9 a.m. tomorrow. You ready?" Selina smiled. She texted back, "Let's rewrite everything." The boardroom at Kingsley Corp felt different now, warmer. The usual steel-cold atmosphere had been replaced with potted plants, natural light, and faces that reflected every walk of life. Selina stood at the head of the table. "We've done the audits. We've addressed the lawsuits. But this is where we decide what kind of company Kingsley will be for the next century." She turned to a screen displaying the proposal. Kingsley Corp. Conversion to Public Benefit Corporation. One by one, hands rose. Each vote met with solemn nods. Damien, seated beside Amara, raised his last. The motion passed unanimously. Later that afternoon, Selina and Leo sat beneath a tree outside the community center, watching people file into the rooftop dedication ceremony. Leo swung his legs. "Did we win?" Selina smiled gently. "We didn't win, Leo. We rebuilt." He tilted his head. "What's the difference? Winning is about beating someone. Rebuilding is about healing everyone." Leo seemed to think deeply, then nodded. "I like rebuilding better." She tousled his curls. "So do I." As the sun dipped behind Chicago's skyline, the rooftop terrace filled with soft, golden light. Selina stood beside Damien and Leo, overlooking a city that once erased her. Below them, murals lined the community building's walls. Portraits of activists, shelter residents, and children who once had nowhere to go. "Looks the same," Damien said quietly. "But it isn't," Selina replied. Music played, a soft blend of cello and piano. Amara clinked her glass and motioned for quiet. "We dedicate this space," she said, "not just to those who were silenced, but to those who refused to stay that way." Selina stepped up to the microphone. "I was once invisible in this city," she said, "but now I stand here with all of you, building something you can't ignore." A breeze caught the scarf around her neck. It fluttered slightly, catching the light. Sometimes, the most revolutionary act is not to burn the system down, but to force it to finally see you and build again. What if the most powerful revolution didn't begin in a courtroom or on a stage, but on a sidewalk with a single act of compassion? The scar that changed the skyline is more than a story of injustice. It's a testament to how a silenced voice can become the loudest force for change. From a simple handkerchief to a dismantled empire, Selina's journey proves that the system doesn't just need reform, it needs to be reimagined by the very people it tried to erase. Now, we ask you, have you ever witnessed a small act of kindness ripple into something greater? Share your story in the comments. We want to hear your voice. If this story moved you, if it made you reflect on the quiet systems we live in and the courage it takes to challenge them, then don't leave without subscribing. Hit the notification bell so you never miss the stories that need to be told. And share this video with someone who believes in rebuilding from the inside out. Because sometimes a single voice is all it takes to rewrite the skyline.